From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
Good Monday morning. It's 6 o'clock. Welcome to Montana This Morning. I'm Victoria Hill. Thanks for starting your day with us.
And I'm MCINTOSH. As we're seeing a sharp transition in the weather, we've been talking about it the last week. We went from record-setting heat on Saturday to the potential of record-setting snow and cold by the time we start getting through the next 36 hours. Temperatures this morning now have dropped down to 47 degrees. When we went on the air, we were in the low to mid 50s across much of the area. That wind gust at 26 miles an hour is still there. So temperatures are steadily dropping, and we've already hit our highest temperatures for the day. Readings across the area this morning are into the 40s across much of northern Montana with those rain showers, and more of those showers will start to sink down into southern Montana as the day goes on. Some upper 50s in western Montana, where they're a little more insulated from the rain at this point. They're going to be dealing more with wind through the afternoon. Temperatures today starting off into the 40s to low 50s through southern Montana and northern Wyoming, which on the surface doesn't really look all that bad, but as we make it through the day today, rain showers will become more likely. We're going to see mountain snow into the foothills, several inches of accumulation. The higher peaks will be looking at a foot to a foot and a half of new accumulation. Today, of course, it's Labor Day. It's not the best day for a long weekend, but we're seeing a little bit of everything. And the good news is it'll help out with the wildfires.
Yeah, that is very good news. And a little bit of history on Labor Day. I was just reading that New York City celebrated the first Labor Day back in 1882, and then Congress made it a national holiday in 1894, and falls on the first Monday in September of each year. Of course, the story that I look forward to hearing is the Labor Day baby, the mom that goes into labor on Labor Day.
Right.
I always watch for those. They're always fun to read. So, all right, enough about babies and Labor Day and New York City and national holidays. I will get on to the news and connect back to the weather and the fire you were talking about. So,
okay.
All right. Thank you so much, Ed.
Thanks, Victoria.
Our top story this morning: today's weather is expected to benefit firefighters as wildfires in our region continue to grow. In Muscle Shoals County, the Bobcat fire is threatening homes and has already burned over 26,000 acres, mostly on private land. Highway 87 was temporarily closed over the weekend because firefighters feared flames would jump the road. It was reopened on Sunday when shifting winds helped crews spare the highway. Evacuations are still in place for many homes in the Roundup area. The Red Cross is paying for displaced families to stay in local hotels. Now we go to Bighorn County, where progress is being made on the Sarpy fire, which is now 50% contained. It's burned more than 52,000 acres between the Crow and Northern Cheyenne reservations. Officials say over 100 structures remain threatened. Firefighters expect to have full containment around the 58-mile perimeter of the fire today. The fire is burning near Jordan in Garfield County and is now 65% contained. No homes have been lost, but the fire has burned nearly 47,000 acres. In Rosebud County, crews are making progress as they battle 3 separate fires. The Snyder Fire, 20 miles north of Ashland, has burned nearly 32,000 acres and is 60% contained. And the Rice Fire, 6 miles north of Ashland, has burned more than 15,000 acres and is 50% contained. The Oil Fire has burned more than 10,000 acres. In Gallatin County, officials estimate dozens of homes have been damaged or destroyed as a devastating wildfire rips through the Bridger Mountains near Bozeman. More than 7,000 acres are torched, and at last check, the fire is 0% contained. Firefighters say they're hoping today's cooler temperatures can help them save some structures and make progress. Roads and trails in the area will be closed until at least September 30th. And the rough wildfire season isn't exclusive to Montana. In California, a record 2 million acres have been lost in about a dozen fires burning across the state. Over 200 people had to be rescued in the Sierra National Forest after they were trapped at a recreation area as the Creek Fire quickly approached. The governor declared a state of emergency for 5 counties. California firefighters likely won't get any help from the weather. They say things are not likely to ease anytime soon. And now closer to home, some Billings residents are picking up the pieces this morning after 2 homes and 2 vehicles were destroyed in a Sunday afternoon fire. A mobile home caught fire around 3 o'clock yesterday at the Carolyn Estates Mobile Home Park on 14th Street West and Lewis Avenue. The home was a complete loss and the fire ignited the neighboring home. Everyone was able to escape, but one person had to be treated for smoke inhalation and 2 dogs died in the fire. In crime news, a suspect is in jail this morning accused in a murder after police found a body behind a downtown hotel. Officers say they discovered a man's body in a car behind the roadway inn on North 27th Street. One man has been arrested and is booked in the Yellowstone County Jail. His name and the victim's name have not been released. Police are expected to release more information on the crime later this morning. In the latest COVID-19 news this morning, a Bighorn County, Montana woman passed away while fighting the virus in the hospital. She becomes the 17th person to die while infected in Bighorn County and the 118th in the state. Over 1,900 people currently have the coronavirus in Montana. 156 are in hospitals across the state. More than 6,200 people have recovered from the virus since the pandemic began. In national news, protests in New York and Portland stayed peaceful last night. Portland reached 100 days of protest over the weekend, starting after the death of George Floyd. CBS's Elise Preston has details on who helped keep the peace in Western New York last night and what changes are coming to Rochester.
We shall overcome.
Protesters hit the streets of Rochester, New York for the 5th straight night, with church members and community elders at the forefront to keep the peace.
I don't want the police to spray the young people. I don't want the young people to throw rocks.
7-year-old Shirley Thompson has a history of fighting for civil rights. She was at the March on Washington in 1963.
We're trying to appeal to the moral conscience of our authority figures in the city.
Demonstrations erupted last week after video was released showing Daniel Prude's fatal encounter with police back in March.
If we want better, we gotta make it better.
Yesterday, Mayor Lovely Warren promised reforms are coming.
We are doubling the availability of mental health professionals. We will take our family crisis intervention team out of the police department.
The first 4 days of protests saw some violence break out. Officials say much of that was caused by outside agitators. On the other side of the country, protests in Portland, Oregon continued for the 100th night over the weekend, sparked by the deaths of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and others. On Saturday, a peaceful rally turned violent when protesters lit fireworks and threw Molotov cocktails. One set a man's feet on fire. Police used tear gas to disperse the crowd. 59 people were arrested. Elise Preston, CBS News.
And today, at least 1,000 people are expected to come to Portland for a car rally in support of President Trump. Last week, following a similar rally, a fan of the president was killed by a protester. States like Wyoming have already had to make difficult cuts to their budget, and more could follow suit. With Congress now stalled for months on a new coronavirus relief package, big budget changes are on the way for several states. Some are discussing spending cuts to schools and job training programs, while others are contemplating new taxes on millionaires, cigarettes, and legal marijuana. The Senate returns from its recess tomorrow, and state lawmakers are urging them to take action on proposals that could provide billions of dollars in help. A coalition of civil rights groups and local governments are trying to force the Census Bureau to extend its 2020 headcount. The Bureau was originally supposed to continue the survey through October after the coronavirus put it on pause in the spring. But then the Trump administration pushed the deadline up to the end of this month. Over the weekend, a federal judge in California said the Census Bureau can't start winding down its efforts yet. A court hearing is planned for next week that will fight for the October deadline. The Washington Post is reporting Postmaster General Louis DeJoy used to give bonuses to employees who made GOP contributions. The allegation involves his time running a company called New Breed Logistics. The company's longtime human resources director tells the Post the bonuses were bigger than the donations. Reimbursing political contributions is illegal. During testimony before the House last week, DeJoy called the report outrageous. In other news, Colorado authorities are looking for a missing man who may be in the Billings area. A missing endangered person advisory was issued late last night for 86-year-old Nicholas Golder. On Saturday, he was taken from a long-term care facility in Fort Collins, Colorado by an unknown individual. Golder called the facility and told them he was in Montana and has previously lived in Forsyth. Golder is 5 foot 11 inches tall with gray hair and blue eyes. He has serious medical conditions and is memory impaired. Officials say he needs medication that he doesn't have with him right now. Anyone with information is asked to call the Fort Collins Police Department.